Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about the Phils sweep in San Diego, how sweep it is. That was a strong series from the Philadelphia Phillies. Also, they've got another very winnable one as they'll take on the Angels starting tonight in Los Angeles. What's the preview for that series? Well, we'll get into it and talk about how the Phils can find a way to another series win, maybe another sweep potentially, and also a rotational update. What's going on with the starters with the Phillies and what should they be doing? All of that in today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for checking us out. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. I appreciate it if you do that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started with that. The Philadelphia Phillies had an absolutely awesome series out in San Diego over the weekend. Offensively, they were monstrous. They scored 9 in the first game of the series, 5 in the second, which not bad, but when you consider that was Ranger Suarez's start and only 1 run was allowed, that'll do. And then 8 in the series finale yesterday. It's just a homer party in game 1, a strong effort in game 2 in that Saturday game. Mainly that was Ranger Suarez. And then game 3 yesterday was a little bit of everything. You needed some bullpen help later. Taijuan Walker kind of struggled at points, but the offense was enough to get the job done. We had some great things happen in this series. You had Nick Castellanos go yard for the first time this year. That's awesome to see. It barely got out, but it got out. So you like to see that. I mean, the amount of home runs hit in game 1 of the series, Schwarber went yard, Harper went yard, Realmuto went yard, Marsh went yard, Castellanos went yard. Marsh in that opener, by the way, 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs and that home run we just talked about. Like, he's unbelievable to start the year. He's going to hopefully be this consistently good all year, and that would make him a really dangerous part of this lineup. But we'll take the good start for now, and we'll see if it continues. Some of the other guys, like Harper, starting to look a lot more consistently like Bryce Harper. He's had moments so far this year, but he starts to feel like he's seeing the ball much better. JT Realmuto seeing the ball much better. Kyle Schwarber seeing the ball fine. Like, this team is just firing on almost all cylinders right now. The bullpen and the back end of the rotation are in a spot where you need to see consistency from them before you fully believe in their potential ceiling. But I can't get mad about anything I saw in that series with the San Diego Padres. And the Padres are a quality team. They are. Are they a great team? Probably not. Do they have a great rotation? No, but the bullpen is plus. I mean, you took care of business against Dylan Cease on Saturday, who's one of the better pitchers in baseball. Like, you could just see in that matchup on Saturday the difference between where Ranger Suarez is at and where every other pitcher in baseball is at. Like, Dylan Cease is a top 10 pitcher in baseball right now with the way he started the year, and Ranger Suarez was head and shoulders above him. It's miraculous how good Ranger Suarez has been this year. I'm going to keep giving him his flowers because he deserves it. The breakout year for Ranger Suarez is here. We've seen him do it back in 2019, over 100 innings worth of work, sub-2 ERA. I talk about it all the time. But this year, he's going to throw a lot more than 100 innings. And, well, knock on wood, as long as he stays healthy, which that's kind of always been the question. But you can see how immensely talented Ranger Suarez is. I'll tell you right now, if you had to ask me, Zach Wheeler or Ranger Suarez, do or die game right now, I think I'm throwing Ranger Suarez. And I understand it's April, so it's early, a lot of stuff to change. But right now, that dude is as good, if not better, than anybody in baseball when it comes to starting pitching. So Ranger Suarez, 10 out of 10 start again. Unbelievable. That scoreless streak, the scoreless inning streak comes to an end. I thought it was 32 or maybe 33, gave up a home run late in that game in the 8th inning, actually, because he was going deep into that game, as he always does, because he's efficient and he doesn't give up many hits or runs or anything. Like, I can't say enough good things about Ranger Suarez. The only guy that is in the conversation with Ranger Suarez on this team right now, and there are a lot of really good players on this team. Ranger Suarez is otherworldly on a heater, and I hope that continues. And there's one dude at the plate. And if you've watched any Phillies baseball over the past, I don't know, 2 weeks, you know exactly who I'm talking about. No, I'm kidding. Alec Bohm has been in another solar system as a hitter. Like, he's unbelievable. Dylan Cease had not given up, like, he'd given up what, like one hit to a right-handed hitter, and Alec Bohm went yard off of him on Saturday. Like, it's just, he's not going to stop hitting. He's just not. He's zoned in right now. I got to read you these numbers because over the past, I don't know, like 10 games, he's hitting over 500 with like 16 RBI. It's crazy what he's doing at the plate. But even his overall numbers, just listen to some of this. He's batting .365. He's got 26 RBIs. That easily leads the club. I mean, the next closest Philly is Bryce Harper with 18 RBIs. He's got 4 homers, which there are other guys that had him. Harper has 6, Marsh has 6, Schwarber has 7, Realmuto has 5. But I mean, 4 homers for Bohm this early in the season. That's a pretty commendable month considering we question his power a lot. 441 on base percentage, 615 slugging. The only person over 1,000 on the OPS is 1,056 in the OPS category. A 1.4 WAR. I'm not a big WAR guy, to be honest, just because I don't dive that deep into the numbers. Not that WAR is overly complicated, but the point anyway, 1.4 WAR, that is tops on the ball club. I mean, Trey Turner is batting .339, and he's got a 1.3 WAR. Like, to be batting .365 through the first month of the season is an insane accomplishment for Alec Bohm. You saw flashes of like clutch ability last year. He was really good with 2 strikes. He was really good with 2 out RBIs. But this year, he's turning into a really, really special hitter. Again, the name of the game is consistency. This is what I think about, right? Because the Phillies, what did we want to see? We wanted to see them get off to a fast start this year, unlike what they did in 2023. Unlike what they did in 2022. You don't want to be pulling your hair out at the end of April saying, why can't this team win series? Why can't this team win games? How are they going to make up this ground? Well, now you're 9 games over 500. Last year, you finished the month of April 2 games over 500. So you're well ahead of pace of a 90-win baseball team from last year. That's really darn good. The question is, do you have an inversely built season? And what I mean by that is, the Phillies in past years start slow, figure it out at the start of June, go on a heater for like 3 months, roll through the final month or 2 of the season, and then find the way into the postseason playing their best baseball. This year, this team has started out hot. They're playing really darn good. They're pitching well. They're hitting well. They're fielding well compared to how they fielded in the past. The bullpen is in a fine spot. They could be better, but they'll settle in more. And I just wonder, like, I wouldn't even say worry because I'm not worried about this team remotely right now. I don't know how you could be, but I just wonder how consistent this level of play will be all year. And when you start running into some of the highest level competition in baseball, when you see the Dodgers, when you see the Braves again, when you see teams like that that are playing really good baseball and are expected to play really good baseball, like, what do you do against those teams? And can you continue to put these type of efforts out there day in and day out? I mean, I haven't seen anything that tells me that the Philadelphia Phillies ceiling is any lower than a World Series contender. I haven't. I've been preaching that this offseason, early season to now. I'll die on that hill. I think this team's ceiling is World Series. And I think every fan should as well. Does that mean they're going to reach that ceiling? Well, that's on the players and how consistent they can be and how the postseason breaks out, all of that stuff. Bottom line is, we are in a really darn good spot as Philadelphia Phillies fans following this team right now and seeing what they're capable of. And to all the people 3 weeks ago or in the offseason, they're worried about the base running or the fielding or they're the hitting. They're not no extra base hits. They're not scoring enough runs. Folks, listen to me when I tell you to take a deep breath and calm down. The Phillies are fine, right? I'll tell you when the Phillies are in trouble. I will. As much as I'm a very positive person naturally, and especially when it comes to this baseball team, when they have issues, I will let you know. They're fine. They're a very good baseball team. This is going to be a very fun summer. And they've swept 3 of their last 4 series. That's insane. I know 2 of those 3 sweeps were the White Sox and the Rockies, but here's a prime example. The White Sox just swept the Rays over the weekend. Like, even the worst teams run into series where they can be dangerous. This is a really encouraging start for the Philadelphia Phillies, and they're going to look to go for their 4th sweep in 5 series against the Angels. The Angels are a very beatable team, but ideally it's just a series win. We're going to preview the Phils-Angels series coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about DoorDash, all right? DoorDash is awesome for a lot of things, but it's especially awesome this time of year because they can help you make your mom smile. Isn't that one of the best things in the world, to make your mom happy? Well, start Mother's Day with flowers or surprise her with gifts from the brand she loves, delivered the very same day with DoorDash. Moms are a gift, so give her the best this Mother's Day. You can get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech to self-care essentials and more delivered right to her door. You can get her something thoughtful for Mother's Day on DoorDash. You can also use DoorDash for a bunch of different things. Food, convenience store stuff, groceries, anything you really need, just go to DoorDash. They've got it. It's 2024, folks. You can get anything delivered. You want to go to the right place where they get it to you fast and for the right price, and DoorDash will take care of all of that. So get all of your Mother's Day gifts all in one place and get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now. You just got to put in code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms do apply. And let's talk about the best app there is. This is the best game app on planet Earth. That's a CT guarantee. All right. If you have a competitive side, you got to check out Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, right? You already talked about that in previous episodes. You know already what Monopoly is. You know what the board game's like. Well, there's just so much more in the game on the app. Monopoly Go is a whole nother animal, right? You can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. There's so much to get. You can get unique stickers. You can trade with friends, cool new playing pieces. I always use the little top hat, but I mean, you could get a bunch of new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for making fun of your friends, taunting them and everything like that. There's so much great stuff. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. So it's not just the same game every time you play it. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzy. So go ahead and check it out. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. It's game on with Monopoly Go. Let's talk about Phil's Angels, shall we? Because this is another very winnable series for the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm going to warn you real quick. I can feel a sneeze coming, but I'm going to try and fight through it because the tough podcasters, they fight through potential sneeze warnings. So if you hear a loud sneeze, my bad. Allergies. The Angels are a 10-18 baseball team. And frankly, you look at some of the numbers, it's pretty impressive. They are where they are at that point. Like, the Phillies are the significantly better team than the Angels. Part of this is going to matter on the pitching matches. But let's look at the overall stats and the batting leaders and everything. There's this guy on the Angels. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. His name's Mike Trout. He's had a pretty darn good start to the year slugging the baseball. He already has 10 home runs. Yes, it's April 29th, and Mike Trout has gone yard 10 times already. But he's batting .226, right? So not consistent at the plate yet. Definitely can be dangerous. Another name we should know here in Philadelphia, Logan O'Hoppe, a catcher that was traded at the deadline a couple years ago, ends up leading to Brandon Marsh, Noah Syndergaard coming over here. He's batting .293 to lead the Angels in batting average. That's pretty darn good, especially for a catcher. And then you have Taylor Ward, who's leading the team in RBIs with 23. To compare those numbers, Trout has more home runs. Schwarber is leading the Phillies with 7. But Bohm, we talked about him in the first one. He's batting 365. Trey Turner's batting like 335. Alec Bohm has 26 RBIs. That's more than Taylor Ward's 23. The Phillies are the better overall team. When you look at the stats, it shows it. The Phillies' batting average is higher. Their runs scored is higher. More hits, 7 more homers. The Phillies have hit 37. The Angels only 30. On base percentage is 20 points higher for the Phillies. Slugging percentage is more than 40 points higher for the Phillies. ERA, this is where it gets real fun. ERA is more than 1.5 lower. Like, that's a big difference. And the whip, 0.25 lower. Like, they're allowing 1/4 less of a base runner per inning than the, I almost called them the Atlanta Angels. I don't know why. I just saw the A. The Los Angeles Angels. They've walked less. They've struck out. They've walked less as pitchers. They've struck out more batters, the Philly staff has. The opponent batting average is a measly 214. Like, this is just flat out the Phillies are a better team. So here's what's going to tell you how they should play in this series, the pitching matchups. Tonight, you've got Christopher Sanchez facing off against Griffin Canning. Griffin Canning this year's 1-3 with a 7.5 ERA. He's got 20 strikeouts and a 1.54 whip. Christopher Sanchez, on the other hand, also 1-3, but a 2.96 ERA. He's been the significantly better pitcher, a lower whip in about the same amount of innings pitched. The Phillies have a better chance to win this game. They're minus 135 on the money line. So you should be able to win tonight's game against Griffin Canning, who is not that tough of a right-handed pitcher to worry about. Now, game 2, Spencer Turnbull's going to throw. We're going to talk about this coming up in our final segment. What are the Phillies going to do with their rotation? Well, they're pushing off that decision for a little bit. Turnbull's going to throw tomorrow. Then Wheeler's going to throw the next day, get him an extra day of rest. Everyone's still in the rotation. Rob Thompson talked about something with the rotation that's very interesting that I'm going to talk to you about next. But let's just look at this game for what it is. Spencer Turnbull's going to be facing off against Tyler Anderson. Turnbull 2-0 on the year, 1.33 ERA. That's pretty darn good. 0.85 whip in 27 innings pitched. Cool. Anderson, though, tough lefty. Had a good start to the year so far. He's 2-3 with a 1.78 ERA, 1.05 whip, 30 1/3 innings pitched. He's only got 21 Ks. The Angels don't really have those like plus strikeout pitch starters, but Anderson's a guy that can get you out. So that's why it's going to be a little bit tougher to find game 2. You're going to need to hope that Spencer Turnbull is fighting for his spot in the rotation and he goes out and tosses another gem. Possible to win that game. You just beat Dylan Cease a couple of days ago. You can definitely beat Tyler Anderson. And then the final game of this series is actually in May. It'll be on May 1st. It'll be an afternoon game on Wednesday. And the Phillies have Zach Wheeler facing off against Patrick Sandoval. Sandoval is 1-4 with a 6.33 ERA. Zach Wheeler is your favorite for the Cy Young Award on the betting odds right now in the National League. Just amazing. Major mismatch in that matchup. So you have 2 pitching matchups that you have a solid mismatch. You're facing 2 guys with higher than a 6.3 ERA as starters. The bullpen isn't much better for the Angels. I mean, this is a series where the Phillies' offensive production should still be able to carry. I'm sure the weather is nice and warm out there. It's going to be like 90 in Philadelphia, so I can only imagine how nice it is in Los Angeles for these games. I don't see any reason why the Phillies shouldn't win this series. Again, I know they've swept 3 of their last 4 series they played. I'd never go into a series expecting a sweep. This one, I expect them to win 2 out of the 3 games. The one that I'd be worried about is game 2 tomorrow with Spencer Turnbull facing Tyler Anderson. But the other 2 games, you should be able to handle based on the pitching difference and the overall talent gap between these 2 teams. So a good series upcoming. Who are the guys to watch in tonight's game? Because I always give you that. And I've been pretty spot on, if I do say so myself, so far this year. Tonight, the guys that I'm watching, well, you got to watch Bohm because Bohm is like, Bohm could be facing prime Nolan Ryan. He would go 3 for 4 right now. He is just unconscious at the plate right now. But facing a righty in Griffin Canning, I'd look at Schwarber to have a nice day. I'd look at Harper to maybe have a really big day. And Bryson Stott, who went yard twice yesterday, maybe he's finally started to break out. He's had a slow start to the year. We'll see if he can have a day against Griffin Canning. Those would be my 3 guys to watch. Schwarber, Harper, Stott. But coming up, we're going to talk about something to watch with the rotation, because the Phillies and Rob Thompson, well, they've got a very tough decision to make in the coming days when it comes to who's going to start, who's going to the pen, who's going down. A lot of things changing because of Taijuan Walker's return, and we'll get into that as we wrap up today's episode. But first, it's FanDuel time, folks, and it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Maybe not much longer for the Sixers, but baseball's also in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. What in the world are you waiting for? I hope you're not waiting for the Sixers to make it to the second round. In fact, that game, that series, going back to New York for Game 5 in an elimination game, the Sixers feel dead in the water. I would look at trying to get that $150 in bonus bets on a lock before Tuesday, before tomorrow, when the Sixers play the Knicks, because the Knicks are beating the Sixers. You can put all that 150 on that, in my opinion. Listen, gamble how you'd like to, but I don't know what you're waiting for to take advantage of this deal from FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So here's what's interesting, right? The Phillies and Rob Thompson have said, unlike last year, in which they tried the six-man rotation, they do not want to employ a six-man rotation. And I think that's really smart by Rob Thompson. Here's why. He's already very protective of pitchers. I'm not too worried about the Phillies' ability to do everything they can to keep these guys healthy. The extra day of rest, would it be helpful for that? Sure. But I trust Rob Thompson to manage that correctly. I trust the organization as a whole to handle that correctly, where you're not burning these guys out, throwing them too deep into games early on in the season. Like, there was a game, I forget, it wasn't this, obviously, this last start for Ranger Suarez. I think it was the one before that, which would have been in Cincinnati. I think Ranger could have gone further, and they took him out, and that was probably because he went complete game shutout 2 starts ago. You got to kind of save his arm a couple times, and can't just, I know he's great, you can't just throw him out there for complete game shutouts every time. He's not Cy Young. He might be the Cy Young when everything's all said and done. But my point in all of this is, I don't think you need to go six-man rotation, because the Phil's starters are on a heater right now. And when you are throwing the ball well, you know what you want to do? You want to pitch every single darn day. I know it's not realistic health-wise, but they're chomping at the bit to get on the mound right now. There are some guys, and you may see one of them tonight. You may see a couple of them as far as starters in this series with the Angels that are probably dreading to go out on the mound against this Phillies team. Phillies starters right now, top to bottom, Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Walker, Turnbull, Sanchez, they're dying to get out there because everyone's throwing so well. Well, 5 of those guys are. Taijuan Walker was a little bit shaky in yesterday's start. It was his first of the year. The Phils ended up winning the game. Rob Thompson probably could have gotten him out of there a little bit quicker, but I think he wanted to try and see how healthy he was, and they weren't really in too tight of a game late. It became tighter, an 8-6 final because of a late home run. But I don't know. I look at it and I say, it's too early to make a determination on Taijuan Walker, but if you don't want to do a 6-man rotation, you got to make a call now. Walker's not going to the pen. I will tell you that right now. Taijuan Walker is not going to go to the bullpen, partially because I don't think he wants to, partially because I think the Phillies know he's not supposed to be a bullpen guy. And by signing a big contract last offseason, he kind of cemented that he's going to be part of the rotation. The Phillies believe in him to do that. So you're going to have to pull one guy out of the rotation. Is it going to be Spencer Turnbull with like a 1 whatever ERA that is 2-0 and has been outstanding this year? It might have to be, which sucks. I'll tell you what. If I picked right now, I would move Christopher Sanchez to the bullpen. I would, simply because I think he's comfortable in that spot. And of the guys that I've seen enough of, like, I'm not counting Taijuan Walker yet. One start can't make a determination whether or not he deserves to be out there. But of Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Turnbull, Sanchez, when I watch Sanchez, he feels the shakiest, if that makes sense, right? Turnbull has just looked flat out solid every time he touches the mound. Sanchez has those moments where I'm like, he kind of feels like he's losing it a little bit. It's not ideal. Like, ideally, I'd throw all of them and I'd have 10 more great starting pitchers. And it's a good problem to have. It's a great problem to have. But someone's got to go to the pen if they're not going to do a 6-man rotation. I would do Christopher Sanchez personally. What are they going to do? I think you're going to see Spencer Turnbull make his last start for a while tonight. No, Sanchez tonight, Turnbull tomorrow. Yes. I think you'll see him make his last start for a while tomorrow because I think the Phils will end up moving Turnbull to the pen. He'll be in that Matt Strahm kind of role, just like we saw Strahm did last year. Started for a little bit, did pretty well, moved to the pen anyway, had success there, became a big part of the bullpen. I think that's what you're going to see from Spencer Turnbull. Is it fair? No. But that's the price of being on a great team with a lot of great arms. It's a good thing because that means this baseball team is going to win a lot of games this year. They've already done that. 19 wins in April, already a franchise record for most wins in the month of April. They got another 2 games. It's against the Angels. They could add to that. So it's a great time to be a Phillies fan. It's a great time to follow Locked On Phillies. So make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for checking us out. Again, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I'll talk to you next time on our next episode of Locked On Phillies.